It's election 2021. Medicine Hat has voted, and now the results are coming in, and with more numbers and those results, once again, here's Scott Robin. Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. When it comes to the mayoral race here in Medicine Hat, as you saw just a few minutes ago, Lindsay Clark taking quite a commanding lead. It's still fairly early in the night when it comes to results, but she is up over 1,000 votes compared to 421 for Ted Clugston. Now, when the first wave of votes came in, she was only leading by about 100, so quite a substantial step up for Lindsay Clark. When it comes to council, it is very, very close when it comes to the group of 8 that is currently leading. Robert Dumanowski with the most votes so far at 665, followed closely by Andy McGrogan and Allison Knodel. Ramona Robbins is sitting in there as well with Allison Van Dyke. Cassie Hyder has moved up into 6th place, and Darren Hirsch and Phil Turnbull have fallen down a little bit, the 2 incumbents. Phil Turnbull with just a 1-vote lead over Shyla Sharps, and incumbent Brian Vargas currently sitting in 10th place with 369. So there is a chance we could see some change when it comes to incumbents. Still quite early, but showing some new faces and new blood in the top 8.
All right, thank you, Scott Roblin. Scott keeps mentioning the fact that it's still early. It is early. It is early. We're looking at about 18 minutes in front of 9 o'clock. So yes, polls have only been closed for that amount of time. But Lisa Kowalczyk, how long is it before we stop saying it's still early?
Well, I think we're going to continue seeing some of those fluctuations in the council candidates, and so I wouldn't want to make any early predictions when you're seeing that kind of shift. I think Robert Dumanowski, he's been able to place his seat in the last number of elections. I mean, he started running for council, I think, when he was 30 years old, and has been able to kind of hold that seat in that top position. He was ranked in the top position in 2017 as well by quite a number of votes, and so I think we'll continue to see some shifts because the numbers are so close still with those candidates, and we'll have to see where things fall and how things play out.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time tonight saying, what did you specifically think of this person? But I do want to say, what did you think of Michael Starner?
I think it takes such courage for somebody that young to run in a municipal election, and I truly give him credit, because I have the benefit of working with various students throughout the years, and one that we have in particular working with us, we've had conversations about how to get younger voters engaged in the democratic process and in voting, and I think for him to take the leap and run for mayor, you have to give him credit for that. And hey, who can say no to Santa Claus?
He does. He plays Santa Claus, if you don't know that. And Michael's been involved in politics. I'm curious about it since he was 10. He's 21 now. So if he keeps going on this path and following it, he could very well be one of Medicine Hat's next mayors.
Well, I think it's really great when we see the younger demographic getting engaged in the conversations, in the democratic process, whether, helping candidates on their campaign teams, or getting involved in different organizations, having a voice, having a seat at the table. I think it goes to speak to the value of diversity, equity, inclusion from all demographics, from all backgrounds, and seeing that come to the forefront, and even in the candidates that we see running. I think all of those voices contribute to the value we have as a community.
I want to get back to, you were talking about teams. Ultimately, there's somebody there, right, standing in the front. I am standing in front of the camera every night on Chat News, but there's a tremendous team behind me that's working. There's a tremendous group of people that are working here with us tonight. So somebody, if they're interested in being political, but they don't want to be upfront like Michael, there's different things that they can do behind the scenes as part of the team if there's a candidate they believe in.
Absolutely. There's always opportunities to get involved, and that's something, if people aren't sure how to get involved, there's great academic advisors and instructors at our local college, at the Medicine Hat College, if there's students there, but really anybody just to reach out to find out how to get involved in the community. We have amazing community organizations, not-for-profit organizations, service clubs.
Yeah.
Everybody is always looking for volunteers and members to be a part of these initiatives. The Special Olympics was just announced as well, and I know they are always looking for volunteers.
Yeah.
I know it's a little ways out, it's 2026,
Sure.
but for those individuals who are wanting to get involved, I think starting at a community level first is really important, and getting a sense of who our community is and what the priorities are, and then branching out into whether that's city committees, there's committees, commissions, and boards, or getting involved with candidates, but having those conversations in terms of what those goals are that you have and how to set yourself up for future success.
Absolutely. As a great philosopher once said, do or do not, there is no try. Much more to come tonight here on Chat's election night coverage. This is Medicine Hat Votes, and on Twitter and Facebook, use the hashtag MHVotes. We'll be right back. We are back. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you are tonight in Southern Alberta. We are pleased and proud to be here to give you Medicine Hat and Southern Alberta reaction coverage. And yes, Southern Alberta does include Calgary. I'm here with Lisa Kowalczyk, the Executive Director of the Medicine Hat and District Chamber of Commerce. And Lisa Scott has told us that in Calgary right now, Jody Gondek, with 28% of the polls reporting, is leading Jeremy Farkas 45% to 29%. Those are the two that were expected to make a big race of it in Calgary. Any thoughts on those two folks trying to take over for Naheed Nenshi?
Well, I think, again, with a mayor not running, it's anybody's game in terms of how they run their campaign. But in the context of how it impacts us here locally, it really makes a difference in terms of who's elected and how well our municipal leaders collaborate and connect and prioritize, particularly when they're advocating to our provincial government or federal government. When you can create alliances on common issues or common themes and get a collective voice together, it's really no different than what we do within the chamber world as well. So I think, again, watching those results across Alberta, there were a number of mayoral incumbent candidates that decided not to run.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see.
Ted Clugston was the only mayoral candidate who decided to go again. But have we seen that a lot lately over the last 2 or 4 years? Have we seen Calgary and Medicine Hat work together? I mean, when it comes to the pandemic, Calgary did their own. Both, Calgary sort of stood up and said to the province, "We don't like that you're not doing anything, so we're going to do it." And in Medicine Hat, they reluctantly put it to a vote and then put a mask bylaw in. And Mayor Clugston is on record as having not voted for that mask bylaw.
Yeah, I think there's always opportunity in terms of collaboration and connection with other municipal leaders. So whether that's within Alberta or across the country, we have the opportunity to create those connections, to see what other municipalities are doing, what some of the best practices are, what the communities are saying or thinking, and what priorities to bring forward. We also have to recognize our uniqueness and our differences, because certainly, our larger metropolitan centers of Calgary and Edmonton are definitely going to have some different priorities than our mid-sized communities. So oftentimes we would end up connecting with other communities of similar size so that we can kind of benchmark against those communities. So it may not be as crucial in terms of what happens in Calgary as it is in the other municipalities, the mid-sized centers that we often do work with.
Staying with Calgary, I was in Regina at the time, but when Naheed Nenshi got voted in, he seemed like such a breath of fresh air. Whereas what we're seeing from Jody Gondek right now, she seems ready to jump into the mayoral chair tomorrow, and Calgary won't miss a beat.
Well, and I think one of the things we have to remember is that regardless of who gets elected, municipalities continue to run. So, again, talking about not missing a beat, a mayor is responsible for leading their council, for building consensus, for bringing council members together. But municipalities have great teams behind them in terms of their operations, their management, their city staff who have a mandate, who have a budget, who have policies that they continue to follow.
Okay.
And so I think that's even more critical than sometimes, transitions in council, is making sure you have that strong operations to support, particularly for councils that end up going through significant changes.
You have mentioned teams a couple of times, and that's important to point out, because whoever wins mayor, whether it's in Calgary or in Medicine Hat, they can't make changes like that. They have to go in front of committees. But first off, they have to win. Let's go back to Scott Rodman, who's maybe will tell us if somebody's got enough numbers to win. Scott, I just want to hear somebody's won something. You got anything for me?
Well, I don't know if I'll go that far, but Lindsay Clark has taken an even stronger lead, larger lead, I guess is the word I'm trying to say, over Ted Clugston here in the Medicine Hat mayoral race. She is sitting at 3,547 votes compared to 1,363 to Ted Clugston. Then quite a sizable drop off to Alan Rose in third place. For councillors, Alison Knodel is in first place. She's really rocketed her way up. Andy McGrogan is also in the mix. And as we sit right now, Brian Varga and Phil Turnbull are sitting in 9th and 10th places, respectively, out of the top 8.
Okay, thank you. Scott Roblin, let's head back down to Earls. Our Tiffany Goodwin is with Shyla Sharps. Tiffany.
Yes, Dan, I'm joined here by Shyla Sharps. So Shyla, moments ago you were at number 9, now you're at number 7. Tell me, how do you feel?
I am elated, absolutely. I mean, I'll be honest, number 9 just kind of said, okay, you know what, it's early and just keep positive and see, at the end of the day, we did our best, everybody, and we asked people to vote, and we have to respect what they vote. So, yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully it just stays that way.
Great. So throughout the campaign, you've really been pushing for change. In fact, your commercial said it best, it's time to pass the torch. Do you think voters are feeling that message?
Yes, absolutely. And when change isn't always because something's bad. Change is just because you need a different direction. So, I think throughout this campaign, when people say change, they automatically assume that people mean that it's been negative. And that's not necessarily true, but sometimes a different direction is what. And I think this is just a different community now from it was pre-COVID, and they want a different direction.
Great. So you're one of Lindsay Clark's biggest allies throughout this campaign period, and she's currently leading TED. How do you feel?
Well, and nothing against the incumbent. I just think that Lindsay Clark brings a different perspective to the table. And, I think our alliance was completely unintentional. It's just that we got along well and we were at the same places. We never actually sat down and said, hey, do you want to have an alliance? It didn't happen. But we just happened to be at the same places, the same time. And then she'd say, I'm doing a coffee, you want to come? I would say, I'm doing a coffee, you want to come? It was just easy. But I tried to include as many people as possible in my meet and greets, just a variety of people.
Yeah, and why do you think so many people are voting for Lindsay as opposed to Ted right now?
I think it's just that need and want for change. I think there was a lot of triggers that happened in the last 6 months, and I think everybody has their own trigger. But at this point, I think that, they're excited about our first female mayor.
Great. Thanks, Shyla. Back
Tiffany
to you.
Goodwin at Earls with Shyla Sharps. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you very much, Shyla. Let's go to Tegan Rasha, who is also doing Zoom conversations with people tonight. Here's Tegan along with Robert Dumanowski.
This is your 7th election and you're currently leading the polls. How are you feeling right now?
Well, Tegan, right now it's early in the polls. Certainly I don't want to get too excited prematurely, but I'm feeling really good. We had a good campaign, a lot of hard work, connected with the community, and we're hoping it resonates positively and puts me back into a position on council.
So with having done so many campaigns over the years, what was it about this year's that made people want to vote for you?
Well, I certainly there was a lot of talk about change, and that's probably something that we hear every campaign. But when it comes to change, you also have to reflect on the inverse side of that. And I think for a lot of people, it meant having some stability and some experience there as well. So for me, I was very pleased that the community responded favorably to me so far, and I'm encouraged by that. And certainly I'm looking forward to the final toll or tally at the end of the night, so I can truly celebrate and just be bolstered by the support of this community once again.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight, and good luck with the rest of the night.
Thanks, Tegan.
Thank you, Tegan. Thank you, Mr. Dumanowski. Let's go back to Lisa Kowalchuk. So we know for sure there will be at least 4 new people on council, and a good sports team can use some veterans to show them how to get in there and win. So if we end up with 7, maybe 6 new people on council, does that bode well for our city?
I think again, there's pros and cons to any outcome in terms of when you're talking about incumbents and new candidates. I think there is value in having your incumbent candidates come in and bring that history and some of that knowledge base, particularly if decisions are being mulled around again, and it may have been something decided in the past. Not to say that you can't change a decision, but some of that history is certainly valuable to have at the table. Incumbent candidates will bring that knowledge, but then your new candidates bring a new perspective and some diversity of opinion and some new thoughts in terms of those decisions and taking a look at that. But it's really interesting looking at the results. You know, the top 15, you're really going from 905 to 2,281 for the top candidate, and you're seeing those shifts in terms of, you know, incumbent and new candidates. So it really goes back to our earlier conversation where it could be anybody's game. Yeah. You know, the top candidates are really sitting within a few hundred of each other within those top positions. So it's really interesting to see how these polls are playing out.
You've worked with a number of different councils in your time working with the Chamber of Commerce. More often than not, does a person, a new person, join council and change to the way council acts, or does council learn to bend to the way people bringing in new way of doing things? Which way does it normally go, or is there a way? Yeah,
I would say that there's really not. You know, from all the times I've seen councils change and the transitions, there's not a specified way. When new candidates come in, I think there is a steep learning curve for sure for any new candidates coming in, and there's lots of great resources out there for new candidates. I think there's new candidates that come in with maybe some preconceived ideas of how it might look or how it might run, and quickly learn kind of the governance model and how councils operate and what they're responsible for. You know, a lot of boards and councils will come in and they're used to action items and the day-to-day operations, and an elected board, a governing board is very different. So I think that's the biggest piece, is that learning curve and how quickly they can kind of get up to speed in terms of their roles and responsibilities, and some of the plans that are already in play and in progress that they're going to have to get up to speed on very quickly and add their insight and their input into.
In politics, sometimes things move very, very slowly.
Yeah, that's a frustrating part.
Let's go back to the Zoom studio. Here's Tegan Rasha with Alison Knodel.
Well, first of all, this is your first campaign and you've been in the top 3. How are you feeling right now?
I just said to a group of Google Meet people that are with me right now, so I could share it with people that I know and people that I've met throughout the process, that I don't really have words to describe what this is like. I am humbled and grateful, and the fact that people feel like I am the person to represent their voice means more than I can articulate.
And this being your first campaign, what do you think it was about it that is making people vote for you?
I think I'm really honest and I'm really authentic, and I went into this wanting to take care of people, but also take care of myself. And I think during a time when the world is pretty painful, it's so important that we prioritize human needs. And I think that I will never forget or reduce the importance of economics. I think it's an absolutely essential tool in order to get us to meeting human needs. But if we use humanity and the needs of people as our driving force and be authentic and honest in that process, then I think you can't lose.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Allison, and good luck with the rest of your night. Enjoy your family and your dogs.
Thank you so much.
There's Allison Knodel here on Chat News. There's much more to come. We'll hear from more of the candidates. We'll have more numbers and results from Scott Roblin. And Lisa Kowalczyk and I might have a few more things to talk about. We're just getting started. We'll be right back. The election results continue to come in, not quite fast and furious, but they're coming in. And Scott, there's now a sizable lead by one of the mayoral candidates over the other.
Yeah, Lindsay Clark is growing her lead when it comes to Medicine Hat's mayor here tonight. 5,230 votes is where Lindsay Clark currently sits. Ted Clugston sitting about 3,200 votes back of Clark. And when you take a look at the councillors as well, Allison Knodel is leading the way, 3,495, followed by Andy McGrogan, Ramona Robbins, Robert Dumanowski, Alison Van Dyke, Cassie Hyder, Shyla Sharps, and Darren Hirsch is currently locking down the 8th and final position on council.
Okay, thank you, Scott Roblin. Let's go back to the Mez, where our Darren Rathwell once again is with Ted Clugston. Darren.
Thanks, Dan. And as you say, here we are with Ted Clugston, incumbent for the race of mayor in Medicine Hat. And we're seeing results here. They're pretty staggering change here in the difference of results. What is your initial thought?
Well, you know, I normally talk about the advanced polls as being a great indicator of what's going to happen. And of course, I'm obviously quite far behind. And you know, that's okay. We'll wait till you guys call it and then see what happens. But you know, I'm looking forward to the future. I've had 14 great years serving this city, and I've had the respect and the support of the citizens of Medicine Hat, and I've been very humbled and honored by that. And I will move on if that's the will of the people, and be happy in my new life.
Okay. Now, you were also saying earlier that, you know, it's happened in previous campaigns where you heard similar sentiments about Old Boys Club and needing a change. And based on what we're seeing right now, what do you think is the difference?
Well, I honestly think it's COVID. You know, everybody is angry at the world, angry at everything, angry at people in charge, and so they are perhaps looking for change. I mean, obviously the new council, if you voted you think the new council will make COVID go away, obviously they can't. But there are people who probably think that. And but, you know, I'm happy for perhaps my new life. It's been 14 years being in the public spotlight, and you know, if this is the end for me, I am excited about my new future.
Okay. One other question for you at this point. Would you, looking back, would you have done anything different in regards to COVID, or?
No. I am a firm believer that you take the advice of the professionals, and I did, and I will do I would have done whatever they would have said, and would continue to do what they said.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Back to you, Ted.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Lisa Kowalczyk, we heard the word "if" a number of times there. If this is what the voters want, if this is my new life, if I'm moving on to that. You've known Ted Clugston a long time. Does it sound as if he's preparing himself for a loss, or is he just being a nice guy right now?
I think
even talking to us, is he just being a nice guy right now?
Yeah, honestly, I think in my conversations with Ted right from the get-go, you know, he wanted to put his name forward because there really wasn't any early indication of who might be running for mayor, and he really does have a passion for this city, and wanted to see some of those initiatives move forward. However, I also know that, you know, if he doesn't get elected, he is ready to accept that position as well, and in terms of you know, future opportunities as he indicated. And you know, again, I go back to my earlier comments that being an elected representative is not easy. It's a lot of criticism, a lot of you know, I'm sure sleepless nights for anybody in that position, a lot of late nights. a lot of different events and a lot of public scrutiny. And so it's certainly not an easy task, and I think anybody who comes into the position definitely has to be an individual who is resilient, who understands that you're not necessarily going to be everybody's favorite person all of the time, and not every decision that you make will be something that will satisfy 100% of the people 100% of the time. And so certainly I know Ted has dealt with that over his 8 years as mayor, and has led council well in terms of, I've had the opportunity of watching council meetings for many of those years, and consistently for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And there's some good debate and some good dialogue that happens, and that's one of the responsibilities as mayor, is to be able to chair those meetings and to be a community ambassador as well.
The night that he was here in the chat studios for the mayoral forum, I was talking with him about, what if this doesn't go your way? And he said, if I don't win, I'm comfortable with the way things have gone. And sometimes politicians have to say things, and you have to choose whether or not you believe them. And in that moment, I honestly believed him, that nobody wants to not win an election. But I believe he's sincere when he says he might be okay with it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, as we talked about earlier, you don't go into an election running for an election with the intent to lose. You want the best for your community, and I think, again, if you have that intention of standing behind your community and whatever they choose and decision they choose, being able to accept that, as difficult as it may be, and know that you served your community well.
Okay, let's go to Alison Van Dyke here's Tegan Rasha with Alison Van Dyke.
You're in the top 8 in your first campaign. How are you feeling right now?
Well, it's a little early to tell yet, I guess, but excited and optimistic, I guess, yeah.
And throughout your whole campaign, you were working obviously very hard, campaigning, meet and greets with the signs. What was it about the campaign you think that is making people vote for you?
Actually, I don't know that it was the campaigning itself. I think it's the years of work I've already been doing in the community that's made the difference, I would say.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add right now?
Nope, just waiting and watching. Very excited.
Good luck. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tegan. Talk to you later.
All right, thank you very much to you both. Here on Chat News, we want to make a declaration. We declare that Lindsay Clark will be the next mayor of Medicine Hat. With the votes in now at 20 after 9, Chat News is declaring Lindsay Clark will win this election. Let me go right to Lisa Kowalchuk, the Executive Director of the Medicine Hat and District Chamber of Commerce. Lindsay Clark is our next mayor. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
The first thing that comes to my mind is, when do I set up that meeting in terms of having the conversations and next steps for our community. We believe very strongly that it takes a community to build a community. We are an ecosystem, and we all work together to make our community what it is, and to look forward to that vision of the future. So I'm excited to see what this council will prioritize as it moves forward, within the priorities that I know City Council has had and are already in progress, and taking a look at that. And so I think one of the key priorities for Lindsay will be meeting with different community members to really get a sense of what those different organizations are doing in the community, how to collaborate. Again, we went early on in this conversation about communication, and ensuring that there is an effective means of communication both to and from the city, and taking a look at what those next steps will be.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, Chat News wants to declare Lindsay Clark will be the next mayor of our city, Medicine Hat. Let's take a break here on Medicine Hat Votes. This is Chat Television. We'll be right back. All All right, well, we have made the prediction that Lindsay Clark will be the next mayor of Medicine Hat. There is still a lot more of tonight to come. And to push us a little bit further, here once again is Scott Robin with some more numbers. Scott, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. As you mentioned, Chat News is projecting Lindsay Clark to become the new mayor of Medicine Hat, defeating incumbent Ted Clugston. She currently sits at over 7,000 votes compared to Ted Clugston's 2,694. And also some more history could be made when it comes to the council side of things, as there are currently 5 women who are sitting in the top 8 at this point in time, led by Alison Knodel at 4,723 votes. Andy McGrogan, Ramona Robbins, Robert Dumanowski are in the top 4, followed by Allison Van Dyke, Cassie Hyder, Shyla Sharps, and incumbent Darren Hirsch is currently locking down the number 8 spot. Also to mention the 2 other incumbents, aside from Dumanowski and Hirsch, Brian Varga and Phil Turnbull, are sitting in 10th and 11th places, respectively.
All right, thank you, Scott Roblin. Let's go to Tegan Rasha, who's got Cassie Hyder with her right now. Tegan.
First of all, you are top 8 in your first campaign. How are you feeling right now?
So to be on, and it's so Tegan, right? Tegan. It is it's almost surreal. Like the whole day has been, I worked today and I'm glad I did, because I probably would have been a little bit jumpy. I'm blown away and super excited. And just there's been an onslaught of support coming my way, texts, phone calls, I'm really humbled and proud. And if this comes to pass, I am so grateful is what I am to be able to be a part of the city in a different capacity. So yeah, I don't know how to feel right now, but just really I've never felt this way. So I just can't describe. Yeah, for sure.
So what do you think it is about your background, your campaign, that is making people vote for you and think that you'd be great on this next city council?
To be honest, Tegan, I think a big part of it is since day one, and I've said this to my family and my team, I'm just going to be myself, and I'm going to just be my honest, true self, true to the people and true to who I am, and convey the message that I feel passionate about, and go from there. I just, with me, what you see is what you get, and I just want to make sure that people know, my word is solid. I'm very trustworthy, and I think I really just enjoy talking with people and the community and getting to know a bit more about them and what they feel they need for this city. So I think it's just my authenticity, I think, in a way. And that's how I was born and raised, just to be yourself.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Cassie. And good luck tonight. I hope you're able to stay calm for the next hour or so.
Thanks, Tegan. I appreciate all your work on this, you guys.
Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Tegan. Let me go back to Lisa Kowalchuk, the Executive Director of the Medicine Hat and District Chamber of Commerce. There's going to be a lot made, regardless of what happens moving forward, about the fact that Medicine Hat now has a female mayor. We could potentially, as Scott was saying, have 5 female members of council. I don't want to make a big deal about this. I absolutely don't. But I think this is a great thing.
Yeah, I think, I've had the opportunity to chat with a lot of the candidates over the election interviews and really get a sense of who they were as a person. Cassie had mentioned, really just being herself and showing that authenticity. And I look at the candidates who are, really ranking in these top 8. And I think that speaks to each of those candidates and what they bring to the table. One of the things that I've always said, regardless of background, race, gender, any kind of cultural background, is we just need the best people for the job.
Right.
And so male or female or whatever, regardless of your background, we want to ensure that the best people are elected. And I am looking forward to this slate of candidates that will be elected after tonight, and being able to work with them and see what they're capable of doing over the next 4 years. years. It will be an incredible run, and I think, again, we heard a lot about people in the community wanting change. Well, I think we're seeing that in the results that we're seeing and the polls that we're seeing come in so far.
Are you, as a human being, as a voter, as a person, as a resident of Medicine Hat, are you liking what you're seeing so far? I really like it. I think it's fantastic. Are you liking what you're seeing so far?
Oh, obviously. I'm a political...
You have to work with whoever gets in. I understand that.
I'm a bit of a political junkie, so obviously the role that I'm in allows me to see all of the different dynamics on a municipal, provincial, and federal level, and to really assess, what are some of those triggers, why are people voting the way they are, what's driving those changes, and as a Chamber of Commerce, we have to work with whoever the elected representatives are. I know many of these candidates, and I know I will work, as an organization, as an individual very well with any of the candidates that get elected, but certainly excited to see, the individuals that are coming up top in the polls and being able to work with them over the next 4-year term.
It's exciting stuff. Let's take a break. There's much more to come here on Election 2021. Medicine Hat Votes. Use the hashtag MHVotes on Twitter or Facebook if you'd like to be part of tonight's conversation.